Hello and welcome to 2025. I hope you have all had a wonderful and restful break. If you didn't get a break, I hope that you've had some rest over this period, or at least found some time to do something that brings you a little bit of joy, even if it was only for a day or an afternoon or a few hours. I hope you've at least had that. This is my first video for 2025, so welcome along to another year of YouTube, another year of crochet, another year of crafty goodness. Thank you for being here. Thank you for spending time with me. Today I am going to be talking about my 2025 crochet goals, along with some other goals that we have for the year. I will be working on this little project while we are talking. It's honestly just going to be a big granny square blanket. That's it. That's all I'm working on. So I have a lot of this yarn. I'm trying to use it up a little bit, and I figure a granny stitch is like pretty easy to do while we chat. So without any further ado, let's get into some of our goals for 2025. So I have not really separated these goals. I kind of was just writing them down as they came to me and as I thought of them. So they may be like a little bit chaotic, but that's okay. We're taking in like a gentle energy to 2025. We don't need rigid lists. It's all good. A couple of the more like crochet type related ones. First is that I want to do more markets this year. I only did one last year and I did one the year before that. So this year I am aiming for 3 markets. If I do more, great. If I do less, that's okay, but I'm aiming for 3. So I have one that I've applied for in March, and I have 2 where the applications are literally open on my phone and I need to apply for them because one of them closes on January 3rd, one of them closes on January 5th, and I just need to get my applications in, but they require me to like write a little something. So I've just been kind of delaying it, which is on me, and I know there'll be more throughout the year, so if I don't get into these, that's okay. I feel like crochet in Australia is definitely getting a lot more popular, and so I know that a lot of markets will have a lot of kind of applications from kind of crochet amigurumi makers, so I won't get into all the ones I apply for. That's fine. I just need to be a little bit more on top of when they're happening this year so that I can actually like apply for them and know when they're opening and closing. So that's my first aim, is more markets. The next one, these first couple are like more of this. The next one is more tapestry pieces this year. It's something that I really enjoy making, and now I have a yarn that I really like making tapestries with, and I just need to actually find some patterns that I want to do and make them. So if you have any recommendations of tapestry patterns that maybe are slightly more simple to do so that I like dip my toe back in and get used to them again, please feel free to drop them in the comments for me, because I would love to do some more. I'm going to be trying to use Moomoo's Milk Cotton to make some more tapestries this year. That is another one of the aims, and my aim is 5 tapestry pieces in 2025. I think that's doable. I don't need to do like, you know, anything too wild to hit that goal. So yeah, 5 tapestry pieces, we can do that. I'd also really like this year to be releasing a few more patterns. Now last year I released 3, I think, but only one of them was a paid pattern. I had 2 free patterns. There was a crochet bucket hat, which has a written tutorial, which is free on the Patty and Bango's Place website. And I also made a Kindle/book sleeve tutorial, which is free on YouTube, and also the written version is free on also the Patty and Bango's Place website. And then very recently in, I think definitely in December, I released my No-Sew Cassowary pattern, which you can also use to make an emu. I have started writing another pattern. Let me show you the kind of first draft of it. This is the first draft. It's just a little, I'm calling him Blobcat at the moment because he's just like a little blobby boy. But we might rename him. Let me know if you have any renaming suggestions. The reason this is draft 1 is that his face and arms are definitely a little bit too high on him. So I used Procreate to kind of adjust where they were and see how I wanted to change him a little bit. So on the agenda for this week is rewriting this pattern and trying it with a bit lower limbs and stuff. He does also have a little tail here. It is very low sew. It's only the ears that get sewn on. Everything else is crocheted in. It's really, really cute. I'm not sure if you can see, but he's got two little kind of bubble stitches here that make the face stick out a little bit, which I think is really cute. So I want to try and get the shape down, and then I will do a few like maybe color change versions, and then I'll have it out for testing. So make sure if you like the look of this guy and you might want to test him for me, jump onto my Instagram, because that is where the tester call will go out. But anyway, back to the goals. I want to release 4 patterns this year. I do have some ideas for a couple more of this kind of guy in like different animals. And I also have some ideas for like coasters and a couple of snugglers. So I'm going to just like dip my toe into a few different things this year, see which kinds of patterns I like working on the best, and kind of go from there. We'll see how it all pans out. I also this year want to be making a few more clothing patterns for myself. I've kept this one pretty low. I just want to make 3 clothing patterns for myself. I didn't want to make too many goals that had like really specific numbers or really high numbers, because I still want to be able to like make what I want to make when I want to make it. But I like having kind of some small aims to give me like a guide, or when I'm like wondering what I should be making this year, I have like, oh, actually I did want to make, you know, 3 clothing patterns, so maybe, not patterns, like items. So maybe I should try one of those because I haven't made one in a while. Again, I am open to recommendations of clothing types, clothing patterns, any that you've used and like. I would love to hear about them. I did have a video all about like crochet clothing and how I feel about it and things I've made that I've liked or maybe not liked. So if you haven't checked that out, go and watch it. I will put the thing up here, one of these sides. Have a watch of that if you like. I'd also really this year like to knit again. I was having chats, I think it was maybe in one of my lives or potentially in our Discord, about wanting to get back into knitting, and someone suggested that I try continental style knitting. Now, I have tried this before, and some people who learnt knitting first will like throw their yarn when crocheting. I don't do that, even though I did learn knitting first. So I'm hoping that if I try continental again, maybe it will kind of work, because I've been crocheting so much, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I can rewire my brain, but I want to give it a go. So this is the year that I try that. I'm going to try continental knitting, and I would love to do a couple of more knitting pieces, even if they're just like beanies or something like that. They don't have to be big pieces. I'm not like, don't have any grand plans of knitting clothing or anything like that. I just kind of want to dip my toe back in the water of knitting. So let's see how that goes. I would also this year really like to make a like much bigger amigurumi project. I haven't really gravitated towards very big ones. I feel like probably the most time I spend on them is like 2 or 3 hours or something like that. So my ideas for this are either Anchor the Octopus, which I have the pattern for and I haven't yet used it, so it would also help me use up some of my pattern stash, or Hugo the Humpback Whale in like normal size, because as you would have seen if you were following along with Vlogmas, I did make the baby Hugo and he was like one of my favorite makes from 2024. So I'd really like to try the bigger version of that, and I feel like that would count as a big Ami make, right? Right? Yeah, I want to try like a bigger amigurumi project that I can spend a couple of days on, you know, here and there working on it, instead of, I guess a lot of the time when I do Amis, I like do them as a little bit of a quick dopamine hit. So I do end up like gravitating towards quicker ones and things like that. So we'll see how I end up going with that, but I would really like to try something a little bit bigger just to see how I enjoy it and if I enjoy making them. I do have a couple more goals that are like making related, so we'll get through them quickly. One of them is to start my travel blanket. So I started buying yarns from all of the places that I'd traveled. Some of them are properly from that place, i.e. made in that country as well. Some of them are just yarns I was kind of drawn to, even if they were not necessarily like made or dyed in that country. But my idea was if I bought a skein in each country, then I could like make squares out of them, put the squares together, and eventually I would have a travel blanket, which like, you know, didn't necessarily look like anything in particular, but just a patchworky kind of blanket. But I would know that it was a travel blanket. What I was doing when I was buying them was trying to buy a yarn that had a color or like main color that was also like the country's color or like in the country's flag or something like that. So for example, in Ireland, I bought a green yarn. In Scotland, I bought a blue yarn. In Spain, I bought a red yarn, etc. So I want to try and start that this year because they're just sitting there and I would really like to like turn them into the thing they're gonna end up being, you know? So we're gonna get one step closer to that blanket this year. The other thing I'd really like to do this year is to make a pizza blanket. And I did have an idea that potentially this pizza blanket could be like a community project if I make the pizza. So like make the kind of yellow, red and crust colored circular base of this blanket, then potentially people in the community could send in toppings that I could then sew onto it. So it's like this really cute blanket that we've made together. So I don't know what you think about that idea, but if you think that could be cool, let me know and we will plan it out and organize it to happen this year. Maybe when I hit like a YouTube milestone of some sort. I'm getting closer to 2K subscribers, so that could be cool. I think this year my like YouTube subscriber aim is to be at like 5K subscribers by the end of the year. I think that would be really cool. The other YouTube kind of goal that I have is to release 50 videos this year. So I'm gonna try and do one a week, but I'm giving myself kind of 2 weeks leeway in case we're on holiday or like I get sick or anything could happen, you know? So we're aiming for 50. Let's see if we can do it. Within those 50 videos, we're aiming to get 5,000 subscribers to the channel. So if you know someone who likes crochet or likes watching crochet YouTube, please send them our channel. Get them on board. If you're watching this and you haven't subscribed, feel free to hit that subscribe button and help us towards our goals. 2025, that's gonna be the year. Anyway, enough of that. Numbers nonsense. Onto more numbers nonsense, which is that I really want to do better at tracking my crochet this year. This came about because there is a quiz that we do called the Gatekeepers of Knowledge. If you want to follow them on Instagram, it's a 15-question quiz that comes out weekly on a Friday. They always have a discussion question at the end of their quiz. And some of them are not great and we just skip them. But one of them recently, I guess on Spotify Wrapped week, was if you could get like a wrapped for anything, what would it be? And my answer to that was, I would love a crochet wrapped. And I figure the only way I can really get a crochet wrapped is to do it myself. So today I started a tracker for my projects, and let me tell you what's in it actually. Hang on, I gotta pull it up. Okay, I have it here. My phone's in dark mode, so you can't really see anything. But on this, basically what I'm tracking is, so just like what the project is, great, fine, whatever. I needed a name in there, you know, so I knew. And then the type of project it is, so that is a little drop down that basically has, is it amigurumi, clothing, homewares, tapestry, accessories, or a blanket? I might add to these lists as I make things and realize it doesn't fit into any of those categories, I'm not sure. The quantity I made of them, and the reason I have that is that if I'm doing markets this year and I make like 10 turtles, for example, like we did in our turtle video, we didn't make 10. That would be a spoiler, but multiple of something in one go, I don't want to have to track that individually on each line. So in those kind of batch making scenarios, I can just put them in on one line in this because I have a quantity. And then who the pattern is by, because I thought it could be fun to know whose patterns I made the most of in a year. Because I do tend to gravitate towards like the same pattern designers. If I like the pattern designer, I'll tend to like make a few different things from them. So I thought that could be fun to know who my like top 5 artists of the year were, but like my top 5 pattern designers of the year. The next thing I have in there is what month I made it in, so I can see kind of how I fluctuate, similar to like a reading graph, you know? When was I making more crochet versus doing other things? And I reckon that could be pretty fun to overlay with like my story graph of reading books to see if like the months where I'm doing a lot more crochet, I also do a lot less reading. potentially. And then just out of my own interest, I have like a project size slash length thing, and that I've really just got like, if the project was under 30 minutes, under an hour, 1 to 2 hours, 3+ hours, 5+ hours, I think I have in there. So those might change as I'm working it out, you know, because they're not very specific, but I more just wanted like what kind of, as I said, what size project I'm working on. So under 30 minutes is like a super quick market make. Under an hour is like a quick-ish make, like this guy would probably be in that category. And then over 2 hours is like a more medium-sized make that I'm probably making, like, I probably wouldn't be making amigurumi in that section, I'm not sure. And then things like bags or clothing or whatever, they'll be the over 5 hours, you know? Maybe not bags, clothing definitely over 5 hours. So we'll see. That one might get refined as we go. And then I just have a little checkbox of if it's a pattern test or not, so I can see how many pattern tests I'm doing in a year and how many items I'm making for pattern tests, because some of the pattern tests that I do, if they're like a smaller item or an item with a few variants, even though usually you only have to make like one of the variants or one item or make it in one kind of yarn, I'll often try and like see if I can make it in multiple yarns to see what it looks like. Or, you know, if it's like a cat, I'll usually make maybe a plain color to test it and then also make it in usually the colors of either Bango or Paddy. So that's what I have on my tracking Excel doc at the moment. I also have a tab for like yarn in and yarn out. I have a lot of stash yarn at the moment and not all of it. In fact, I would say most of it is not full skeins of yarn. So I wasn't really sure how I was going to track that or if I could track it. So I've kind of just made it up. I have like, if I get a skein out, was it a pre-2025 stash or bought this year and stuff like that. I'm not really sure how that one's going to work, but I thought maybe I could have it there. At the very least, I can see how much yarn I buy. I'm not really sure how that works with owning a yarn shop, but I will obviously exclude all of the skeins of yarn that I buy for the yarn shop. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, have you ever tracked your crochet? If you've tracked your crochet before, I would love to hear about it. If you haven't tracked it before, I would love to hear what you might want to track, because that might give me ideas of things that I've missed. Because the problem is I have these ideas when I'm not near like paper or anything like that, and then I kind of forget what the things I thought about tracking were. So this is the best I could do this morning after a New Year's Eve night out. We'll see. Things might get added to it through the year. With all of that said, those are pretty much all of my like crafty and crochet related goals that I have at the moment top of mind. I'm sure some might kind of come back to me throughout the year as I'm thinking of them. I'll be like, oh, I really want to try and do that. Of course, as with most years, and as maybe evidenced by the fact that I'm tracking my yarn usage, I would really like to decrease my stash. That is partially why I'm like starting just little blankets with this kind of yarn that I just have sitting there with no real plans of how to use it. I'm sure that at some point, like, someone else in my life will have a baby or whatever, and I can gift them a little blanket if I've made some. So yeah, I think I might also try and use some up with like beanies and things like that, because I feel like a beanie is another kind of quick semi-mindless project that is fun to work on. I haven't really made many beanies. I haven't found a go-to beanie pattern really, especially for crochet. So maybe I'll try and do that in 2025 as well. The less crochet craft content related things that I have as goals are to read 40 books. Last year, 2024, I read 52 books, and it was like the last 2 books I read were graphic novels so that I could finish my 52 book reading goal. So I don't really want to put that same pressure on myself, especially because I know that this year I'll be doing like more making YouTube videos and hopefully be doing a little bit more with my crochet and things like that, especially if I have more markets. So I thought I'd reduce the goal but still keep it kind of a healthy amount so that I'm still encouraged to read, because realistically reading was my first like hobby love. So I want to make sure I'm still doing it and not completely dropping it for crochet. So read 40 books is on the list. And the other goal that I have, which again, if you had been watching Vlogmas or like keeping up with Vlogmas, you might already be able to guess that this is going to be on my goal list, but I really want to run a 10 kilometer like race. Obviously not an actual race, but like to do it in some kind of running event. Kieran will be doing his marathons and half marathons and stuff this year, so I figure at some point for one of those I can sign up to the 10K race while he runs a really, really long way. I can run a lot less of a long way, but still for me a long way. I am a team sport girly. I do not run long distance. I do short sprints. So it has been a challenge so far. I have started my kind of running program with my Garmin, and yeah, it's just so different. So I'll be really proud of myself if I can run a 10K. I've done it before. I would really like to do it again as part of an actual event. Last time I just sort of did it on the weekend. It told me to do it, and Kieran came with me and he helped pace me, which was really nice. So yeah, those are my 2 non-crochet goals for the year. This is how much of this we got done. Not a whole lot, because I was gesticulating and showing you things, but this has been very nice to sit and chat and catch up with you. I feel like we got a lot of time together during Vlogmas, and then we've just had a little bit of a break. So it is really nice to be back. It is fun to be back making videos. I have a bunch of ideas for videos that I can be making this year, but I would love to hear from you if there is anything you want to see. One of the other videos that I will be putting out this month will be a Q&A, because I have never, in the last year and a little bit of doing YouTube, I've never actually done an introduction video. So if you want, in the description below there will be a link to where you can put in anonymous questions, and I will do my best to answer all or most of them in a video this month. Jump down there. If the link is no longer there, it means that it's closed and I've already filmed the video, but definitely for the next couple of weeks it will remain open. So please, if you're watching this in the first couple of weeks of this video being out, jump down there, ask anything you like. We can get to know each other a bit more and it'll be a great time. Otherwise, I would love to hear about any of the goals you have this year, whether they're related to crochet and craft or not. I can be here to hype you up virtually. We can cheer each other on in our goals for the year. And if you have any other thoughts on any of the goals or things that I've asked you about in this video, please drop them below in a comment. Otherwise, if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to give it a like, share it with someone who might like it as well. And if you're not subscribed yet to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that we can hang out more this year in 2025 and you can join our little crochet crafty community. Until the next video, thank you so much for hanging out, and I will see you really soon. Happy 2025. Welcome to the new year. Bye.